So I will pause here again and ask you to create a live template, which something that you do repetitively in your programs. Try to create a live template and demonstrate it if possible. I'll pause it for a few seconds now. So I hope you guys are following me. Uh, let's see.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, great. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show how to publish something as a gist very quickly. So I'm cleaning it up this. Let me get rid of all this. I'm going to choose file. What is this crazy stuff? This is called as a demo effect, I think. When you want a demo, sometimes it goes bad.
I remember Ganesh on, I think it was the JetBrains day, the first speaker, I can't remember his name right now. He was doing beautiful testing and he was having the same issue. He literally debugged everything on live during the first hour. So it's something which always happens with demos, that when you're giving a demo, there'll always be a glitch which you can't anticipate.
Okay, no problem. So, okay, I found a shortcut. I mean, it's always a solution, right? So I just double shift and I'm able to create the gist, how to create a gist, and you're here to go. So, the demo. Okay, first let me see this is the correct or not. No, this is not correct. So let's rename it and convert it into, let's say, chrono units. Simple example, right? So we have this chrono units. Now let's publish it as a gist. So simple example of how to use chrono units. So you give this enter and you can see that I have created a gist, and you can use this gist if you want, right? I mean, this is a trivial gist, you won't really use it, but you get the idea, right? It is so powerful, right? What is the technical description of gist? I know it's, I don't know. So
Gist.
gist is a, a single file that you code snippets that you share to the outside world. Is it a correct description? I don't know. Simple code segments, not repositories, but files that you can share. I think it is here. Yeah, instantly share code, notes, and snippets. That's the gist. So it creates a URL for you, and you can refer that. You can share it to others. You can make it public or private gist. So can you publish, any of you publish a gist and share the link? You may have to connect to your Git repo. I'll wait for a few seconds to be able to publish it and share the link. Oh, okay. Bala, you are super enthusiastic. You're able to publish it immediately and share. Big double claps to you.
I'm actually going on track along with you.
Okay, great. Awesome. Okay, so let me, actually this is not a demo session. I mean, it's not a presentation session, but still I will share a presentation that I recently created and see if I missed out anything that I wanted to cover. Okay. And also quickly summarize the discussions so far, whatever we have covered, right? So you can automate most of the stuff with IntelliJ IDEA. You can detect smells, generate code, fix code, transform the code segments, automatically improve the code, and remove the existing smells and more, right? So sometimes what you see is misleading. Like if you see this code here, you have this http:/google.com, right? That's actually a label. So it's not something that we can easily know. So there's some unusual aspects in programming languages which can get us into trouble. And IDEs are often good in finding out those problems, and static analysis especially, which is integrated into IntelliJ, can help you improve the code, find the bugs, etc. You can automatically optimize your code segments. So you can do Alt-Enter, or you can choose the way to set to remove those import statements automatically, or there's also a shortcut available. If you see the shortcut list that you have, then you'll be able to use that shortcut to remove the unused import statements. So we can also reformat automatically. I find this to be very useful. So I use command option L to clean up and improve the code segments automatically. So that's something that can make it uniform. So you can generate the code automatically, which we discussed. You can rename the variables. You can move the classes to the rightful place. Yeah, this is something I find it useful as well. So every file should have a single class, right? That's an ideal approach. I mean, top level class. So what you can do is you can select those files which you want to keep it in its own place, and move it to its rightful place. So move the class F6 and give the package name, and it will be moved to its file. So you can automatically simplify the complex constructs to more simpler one. Here, for example, we have a new runnable, which is unnecessarily complex, right? You can simply replace it with a lambda. So the anonymous classes to lambda transformation can be done automatically. You can extract constants. For example, we have a constant here, and you can do option command C or V for variable and extract it into a. So C is for constant and V is for a variable, and we can be able to extract it. And that's a delimiter, again another extract of the constant. So this is extract variables. We can do other things like join lines, etc., to simplify the code. Then you'll be able to extract a field from local variables. So now it's become a field. And you can extract methods, which we discussed. You can do other things like extract parameters, etc. So this is an example of how code can be transformed when you do things automatically. So let me proceed further. So here is a code that is a working code which creates a zip file out of the given CSV file. Now this sucks. The program sucks. Now what you can do is you can do simple refactorings like extract constant, extract variables, extract methods, etc., and make it more better. You can make it better. So we have merged the two try with resources statements, and now we can extract this constants there. You can introduce underscore as well, extract into a constant, and give it a meaningful name like chunk. Now this is slightly improved version, right? So this demonstrates how to use the extract constants, extract variables, extract methods, etc. And other things like, for example, how do we merge two try-catch statements? Okay, this is an interesting one. Before I show the solution, can any of you simplify this code? What will be the simplification of this code? So we have a map, words by size, and we are getting the values, not the values, the keys. And for each key, we are getting the value and printing the value. I think, is it not the same question that one of you asked? How do I
The map,
graph the map?
yeah, map iteration you showed already.
Yeah. But this is a roundabout way to do it. And you know what is surprising is this can be automatically improved. This can be automatically improved. This one shows how do we extract into your method reference. But if you actually do uh, dot for each, you'll be able to automatically change it. So here this is the one which demonstrates how do we change it to a loop. With this is much more elegant if you can see this. So if you look at this versus this, right, the improved one, it's much better. And this is surprisingly simplified version than the previous one, which is 4-5 lines of code and becomes 1 line of code, which is much more readable as well. So IntelliJ is quite powerful. Alt enter is a very powerful thing to do. So we can do automated design refactorings. For example, if you look at this pollutant entry, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 parameters, right? And when you have such long parameter list in a constructor, it calls for refactoring. So one kind of refactoring is to identify something known as data clumps. Like if you look at this method parameters, the constructor parameters carefully, the first part, the country, state, city, place, etc. is the location. And this average, max, min pollutants is the pollutant value. So these can be extracted into its own classes. Right, so that's 9 parameters. Now we can extract it into a parameter object and give a name for that class, which is, for example, say location. So I want only the first 4 parameters, so I can choose them and I say refactor, and that location will be in its own file. Now I can see that it's a location in its own file, right? Now you can extract that another one as well, right? So another powerful thing to do is to create a builder pattern. For example, if you create an object like this, like what does this arguments mean, right? It's always confusing. So you can automatically convert to a pattern known as builder pattern. So let me quickly go through that. So these are the ones which we are passing, and yeah, this is the constructor that we have. And if you do right click and choose convert it to a builder pattern, it will automatically convert to builder pattern because it will simplify the code. This sucks because at the caller level, I will not be able to understand how this constructor is being called. So I choose automatically refactor to the builder pattern, and I should be able to see the builder now. And if you go to the main method, you'll be able to see how the builder method is a much more better version than the current one. So this is the constructor that it calls, and you look at this, the IntelliJ IDEA has already replaced the new caller for the build device constructor with the builder code, which is much more readable, right? So like this, there are powerful refactorings that are possible with IntelliJ IDEA. So this is what we used: replace constructor with builder. So yeah, so we can also do automatic improvement of procedural code. So this is an example of a procedural code. The moment you see a lot of nested statements, a sequence of statements, it means it's procedural code. And converting this external iteration to internal iteration is quite powerful. For example, the outer for loop is external iteration. The inner for loop is a external iteration, and you can convert into internal iteration like this, which makes the code more concise. And now we are so used to procedural thinking that we can't even think of functional approach. Now let me pause here and ask the question. This is a prime number function, right? So we are checking is prime here, so which is not a big deal. For I equal to 2 to value by 2, of course this could be better, we can say square root of the value, but still, I mean, this is also another way to, less efficient way to calculate the prime numbers. So I is less than or equal to val divided by 2. If there is any value that is divisible, if the value is divisible by any I, then it is not a prime number. Otherwise, it's a prime number, right? And this iteration for 1 lakh numbers, just to demonstrate. So now, can you convert this into to functional approach? How will a functional code look like for this equivalent for loop? Let's see if any of you are able to answer this question. So my question is, there's a for loop here, which is iterative, right, procedural. What will be the equivalent method in functional program will look like in Java? Any of you? There are many power users here.
Ganesh, I actually had a different question.
Yeah, sure.
Not related to this. Given that how powerful today IDs are becoming and how many features IntelliJ is providing, what is still the relevance of code? Code formatting plugins like erstwhile you had like Checkstyle and everything else. Are they still relevant in today's world, or it's like the IDs themselves have become too powerful and you need not use those such plugins?
So I mean that's a very good observation. I would say it is somewhere in between. So many of the normal things that you would use to do, right? For example, Checkstyle will give warnings for how it is formatted, the variable names, etc. Right? So those things are automated by the IDEs. But there are some advanced ones. Like for example, if you have your own custom styles and you want to enforce that, right? And if I remember correctly, in Checkstyle, I can write my own XPath expressions and I can customize it. I don't remember that well, it was 5 years or 10 years back. So I'll be able to customize my Checkstyle rules. And to the extent in which you can customize those tools, because they're special purpose tools, it's not the same as what we can do with tools like IntelliJ IDEA. So I mean, that's my limited understanding. I'm not really sure, if this is a 100% correct answer. But it's not that those tools are 100% out of the scope. That's what I'm trying to say.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. Yeah. So, okay. So what is interesting is IntelliJ can automatically transform this into a functional code. So you can replace it with none match, because if none of them are divisible, then that is a prime number. The same way with this for loop also. This is more straightforward because it generates the values from 2 to 1 lakh and then do the conditional check, a filter for E is prime, right? But what is more interesting, right? I mean, this is a very trivial example of a prime number, but when you look at the real code bases, there is so much of procedural code out there, and many of them could be simplified with a more elegant functional approach. I'm not saying we should go overboard with functional approach, but IDEs provide a way to automatically convert the procedural code to equivalent functional code wherever it is attractive for us.
I think there was a comment from Sumit who probably tried to address the same thing. If you could have a look.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so you have shared a solution. Okay. Any match. 2 to 10, any match. So this should be the opposite of any match, no? There should be none of them should match. Any match, none match.
That is agreeing that it should be no match, or I think.
Yeah, it should be no match. Yeah, but it's a good attempt. Yeah, I get what you're saying. But if you make it not, then I think it will work. It becomes more complex code, but condition. But yeah, thanks, Sumit, for giving a try. Really appreciate it. Okay, guys, I think we are coming to the end of this session. So if there are some key takeaways, right, I would, say some key takeaways. So one key takeaway is, let me type this out because I think some of these takeaways are really valuable. So use shift extensively. So you'll be able to search things faster. Anything, you can search anything with this shift. So that's a very powerful shortcut that to learn. You can search classes, files, symbols, actions, whatever it is, right? You can search faster. So I would recommend, using this, start using this. The second takeaway is to use Alt Enter. So all easy ones, and you can use it extensively. Alt Enter is very powerful to improve the existing code or transform the code. For example, I can auto import it now, or I can transform it into a loop, right? So using Alt Enter is I find that is quite powerful. So next one is Control T. So Control T invokes the refactoring option in IntelliJ IDEA, and there are so many options you can see. So many options, right? So we saw some examples of this, for example, converting into builder pattern, right? So so those things are possible with contextual refactoring, and the contextual refactoring is called refactor this here, Control T, and that can transform your code by improving it. Of course, you have to apply it in the right places. But that is very powerful. And look at this, for example, find and replace code duplicates. If your code base has 10 or 20% code duplicate, so just by choosing this option, you'll be able to find them, and not only find them, you can actually replace them also. So I'm not saying you should go ahead and immediately do that in a real world project code base. It's not possible to just go and replace everything, but it at least shows a way forward for you to do it more and remove those code duplicates. So yeah, so those are the key takeaways. It's a fun way to end it. So yeah, so with that, I'm coming to end of my presentations, and let's go back to any questions that you may have, and see if this session was useful to all of you. Oh yeah. So productivity tips, yeah.
Yeah, I think Sumit just shared it, so probably the audience can go through it. It would be helpful for them. And this is a old one, but I think you might find new ones on the IntelliJ IDEA, the YouTube channel as well.
Yeah. And actually, I have created quite a few. Actually, I did it more for learning myself than anything else. I will share that link as well. So this is
Please do. That will be helpful.
List that I have created. I'll share it now.
And I think Bala makes a very good observation that if we use any other IDE scheme maps in IntelliJ, then we will never get an opportunity to learn IntelliJ. We will be still using the IDE which was our preference or is our current used one. So I think that's a very good point, Bala.
Yeah, thank you, Bala. It's a very very useful input to everyone. Yeah, let's cover some ways to learn. How do we learn, right? So one of the ways that you can learn, I like this very much, is use this option. Let me close this project, and let me close this as well. Choose this option, learn IntelliJ IDEA. How many of you tried this? So if you try, for example, Command Shift A, right, which we covered. So I can see that I have learned this, and and I have done learning this, and now I can go back to escape and go back, right? So okay, so you can learn the shortcuts if you're especially new to IntelliJ IDEA. I would strongly recommend this because it will give you live feedback on how you are doing. Right? So I would strongly recommend you to do that, to learn. Yes, you can also use the productivity guide to see how you are using shortcuts. So if you go to productivity guide, you will see what kind of shortcuts that you are using, right? So this is very useful one, and you can I think the YouTube video that you shared, right? The same way you can go to the demos in